if you go to the UN offices here, you'll find a lot of these huge vehicles, these expensive vehicles. It's ridiculous the amount of money they spend on their own comfort where they live. They live in the most affluent areas. You find that a lot of this money right now, it's just to sustain that bureaucracy of NGOs. And the bureaucracy is those people, the executives. They've gained so much power politically that every time, say, a government wants to do something, a member of these groups has to be present. My question is, who gave them the permission to do that? Nobody voted for them. They kind of just come in and how do you call they and just sneak in. They just sneak into the system with the funding and then the political influence. Because now, if USAID or George Soros or Bill Gates says, okay, this is what I would like my guys to do in this slum, what they start with is a member of parliament of that area. He gets his cut, because they don't just fund, by the way, all these dissident groups. Sometimes they fund people right in the government, depending on what they want. Sometimes they give the president money. Like when Jill Biden came here, she came here with it was money enough to start at least to put at least 10,000 people to work, build different industries and what. That's the kind of money. Do you know what that money was for? It was for LGBTQ activism.
Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you. Welcome to the Party Pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 275. I'm talking to Albert Nyakundi. He is from Kenya, and he's been tweeting a lot about USAID being shut down and how this is supposed to help countries like Kenya, but it's not helped Kenya. Albert is from Kenya. He's a filmmaker in Kenya, and you're also the first time I've had a native African on this show, Albert. So I probably should have had done that a long time ago, but yes, thank you for coming on. And you're certainly speaking English well, although I've noticed a lot of Kenyans speak English very well. So how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. English is part of our curriculum, so when you go through school, that's a necessity.
Yeah, I suppose it's probably more the English than American English, though, but who knows?
Yeah, but we already have a lot of influence from you guys, so there's kind of a mixture in there.
You watch our movies, you listen to our rock and roll, yes, okay. Well, Albert, so, okay, you've been tweeting a lot about, since Donald Trump took the presidency, he's been investigating a lot, having people investigate a lot of these agencies and trying to see what exactly is getting spent and where exactly this money is going. And one of those things is the United States Agency for International Development, which is also called USAID, if you spell it out. First of all, what can you tell us a little bit about yourself, so people know who you are?
Yeah, I'm what people would generally describe as an independent filmmaker here in Kenya. In any case, the industry isn't really that big to have too much of those distinctions. So I've been doing this for the last 20 years. So I'm a single 46-year-old man, and I basically that's all I do for in life. I try to make films, and right now I do a lot of online content also, which I should have started a long time ago, because really, when you're given this kind of a chance to improve on instead of using, say, the traditional streams, like now everybody can really be their own media house, if you like. I wish I'd done that earlier. So I do that. I talk mostly about entertainment, film, and politics, depending on what catches my interest. That's basically it. I'm a pretty basic person. I don't have much going on other than that.
Oh, so you make it a minute. Is there a fairly big film scene there in Nairobi, or?
It's,
I mean,
not big, but it's vibrant. It's chugging along, as I would say. We are still going through what I would call teething problems. It's taken a while, but more and more people are now starting to make a good business out of it. So we are hurrying along, but it's vibrant for now. It's not big, say like Nigeria or South Africa, but it's coming along.
Yeah, I know almost nothing about the film industry in Africa, but I assume they've got to have people making movies or TV shows there somewhere. No, no
Yeah.
surprise that it's happening in Nigeria because that's just such a humongous country, and
Yeah.
Lagos is a large city. I mean, with 200 million people, I figured it'd concentrate in some of the big cities.
Yeah.
But because I mean, what movies do Africans watch? You know,
From at least from obviously because I'm in the business,
yeah,
from the
yeah,
research, it's mostly like dramas and these relationship
yeah.
things, and what the old school kind of relationship, romantic comedy
Or,
type kind of movies.
but
And
is
then
it mostly? But is it mostly movies made there, or is it movies made in England, or movies made in America, or movies made in
our
Australia?
our, di- our diet is mainly I would say Nigerian and American movies.
Okay.
And then you have soaps. Soaps are a big thing, yeah, like the South American soaps, all that.
Oh wow.
They're a big
Okay.
thing. Yeah, so
Okay.
we have also our own soaps, so that is kind of that mixture. Uh, I believe they're just like everywhere in the world, men prefer action movies, women watch more of
Oh
those.
yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want to stick on this too long, but I suppose you know why Americans started calling them soap operas.
Why exactly?
Well, they before television, they started out as radio programs, and with radio programs, there was a lot of music in the background, so it was like an opera. But then also because the advertising, it was often things like dishwashing liquid, laundry detergent, soap.
Oh,
So these were programs that were selling soap. So that's why we call them. That's where the term comes from. Soap operas. I love to explain this to people in foreign countries. They
that
always find
that
it
that
rather funny.
is
Yes.
that is so interesting. Oh
Yes,
wow.
so it's an
Okay.
opera that sells soap. It's yeah, so okay, well,
So
let's
I
yeah, I'm just
understand where
speaking for my American audiences, but my audiences worldwide, they've heard this story before. Okay, Albert, it's, now you've been tweeting a little bit about USAID, and basically you're you wanna see USAID go. You wanna see
yeah.
them leave Africa and leave Kenya. So what's been your experience with USAID? What can you tell us about that?
Uh, the thing is, it's not just a particularly USAID's problem, but there are just so many these NGO activist organizations that are all over, everywhere. And over the years, at least, we've noticed that most of them are just uh, centers of influence, really, that have been funded by foreigners. And also, they've become cash cows for most activists. And once you make helping a profitable endeavor, it stops being that. So over the decades, we've seen so many organizations, and we're actually finding out now, like most of those organizations are actually children of USAID or like organizations, the big ones, the Soros Foundations, the Open Society, the Gates Foundation, all these big ones are kind of like the baseline for all these other little NGOs that are local, that are run by Kenyans. So I have, as a filmmaker, of course, I've rubbed shoulders with them because I've done a lot of contractual work, filming, editing, things like that. So, covering events. So you have over very earlier on, because actually the very first, I'm gonna tell you about the very first business I got from an NGO, was from an NGO called Action Aid here locally. So it was to do a radio drama, so basically to record a drama and whatnot. What happened after that? First of all, the amount that they were paying, it was half of it was going back to the bureaucrats that had signed off for to give us the deal. So the people that we were doing the business with, so all of a sudden it's like, oh, now they've taken this much amount and this is what is remaining for us. So this is after you've done the work and everything. So at that particular moment, I realized it's just corruption. And that really disillusioned me. But I did do some work for different organizations after that, but I already kind of knew it's like I just need some money. So if I get it, fine. But it already was in my head that this is a totally corrupt setup. And then more and more as I interacted with a lot of these activists, I found that they were just the most pretentious people that I've ever met. The most corrupt. They are as corrupt as the politicians they claim to be fighting or whatnot. So all that basically came around for me to just say I actually just stopped working with most of them. We've been asked once or twice to do concepts for some of them. Like for example, it's we did an animated concept. Oh, we are also an animation house. So like this, I'm actually in my studio now. So we had been asked to do an animation concept for water conservation. I think we did that. And that's kind of the last project that I've done that includes these NGOs, and primarily this because I've found they're extremely corrupt, and worse still, they're agents of say America or or UK or what. So if they're coming here, it's not that they want to help. The help is as a way in to try and influence a lot more our politics and the way we do business. So once I found that out, and I've been going crazy with this USAID thing for the last week or so, just trying to find out as much as I can. And I find that my decision to really not deal with these people at all, and even better, to try and expose what they are doing as much as possible, is more of a worthwhile endeavor. It's not all I'm going to do, but I have realized that because we've been complacent and because so many people have started earning a lot of money and they've become so influential working for these organizations, that now they basically influence everything that happens in this country. When we were changing our constitution, I just found out there was USAID funds that went into that to influence how our constitution was going to turn out. When you look at a lot of what we call police reform, there is a back behind that. When you're looking at all this, the DEI, or you have to have women representatives in parliament, where a woman doesn't have to compete for a position. They just say it's a women rep, so it's only women representatives women running for those positions. Then we realize, oh, on this other end, in the corporate sphere, our biggest companies, they've gone in there and now they started instituting, oh, you must have this gender parity thing all over the place. So this was happening in front of our eyes, and because of the PR that came with it, I say, oh, let's be equal, fine. The notion of it is fine, but what you find later is it was actually a ruse to allow for as many of these things to happen as possible. And I personally think it's one of the most unfair setup that we have right now. So I decided, no, I am going to make as much noise as possible. I don't really care for the money that's made from there. I don't care for the activists I annoy or the NGOs that I annoy, because some of them for a very long time, because of the way I speak, generally, I don't like to sugarcoat things. I've been blacklisted in so many places, in so many media houses and whatnot. So I thought, I'm 46 years old. Why am I still pretending like I need these people? I've gotten to 46 basically doing my own thing. So part of that is because I feel more confident to actually talk about it, and it's because it has shown me to be really a very corrupt, very insidious setup. I don't know if that was too long-winded, was it?
No, I brought you on here because I wanted to hear you talk, Albert. I mean, I certainly will throw in my own opinions, but that's why you're here. So, when you mentioned, the Soros Foundation and the Gates Foundations, I just wanted to clarify that, as in George Soros and William Gates
Yeah,
III. Yes.
Yeah. All of them are here. All of them are here. They've big offices. The UN, Kenya is kind of like the UN headquarters of Africa. So all the UN offices are here, and the UN people, the NGO people are in our economy upper middle class to wealthy. These people have come to help us. All of them live lavish lives. All of them live in the most affluent areas, which will rival even the affluent areas in America. So they are actually living a very lavish life. The UN is one of the highest paying organizations around. USAID, all these organizations, they're some of the highest paying organizations around. I've never understood why. Uh, Particularly, but now we know why. It's because it's really, in my opinion, a bribe for all these people that work for these organizations, and because it's a bribe, they have to do what USAID or all these organizations say. If we have found out just how evil and insidious George Soros has been over the years, we just found out how evil and insidious Bill Gates is. He's trying to take over even locally. His organization was given a weird, how do we call it, exemptions in our law for like this immunity against you know the law enforcement going after them in case anything happens. So that one even began, and people were wondering what's going on. Luckily, our courts did strike that down. So all these things have actually so many different things that have worked in concert for us to, for me at least, to say this is not something worth following through, and that at least for those of us who think we should actually take the responsibility of building the things that are not done here, that we don't really have to take what I call bribes, because this is what all these NGO funds are. They are bribes to our countries. They are bribes for our politicians and activists. They are also being used to set up a lot of political dissidents. I don't mind political dissidents as long as it's done locally, but right now we're finding out that America is the one who's been driving everything that we do. And in fact, every time it actually annoyed me more, because right now, so many of the stories we've been hearing over the years, all the things we thought were real in front of us, actually were just inserted in the system, and this small group of people just decided this is the way it's going to be, and they lied to us about it, and they continue to lie about it. I'm watching the American situation very closely. I'm looking at how the Democrats are behaving with the audits, and it tells me everything. And once something is clear to you, once there's enough evidence to suggest that you're not being dealt with uh, honestly, I think it goes without saying that at this moment, USAID or any of these NGOs have absolutely no, uh, how do you describe it? They don't have the trust of the people. Everyone that I know that is making noise about how the funds are living are the ones who are directly benefiting from these funds. You look at all the feminists we have around, all our LGBTQ little groups, although we don't have groups per se, but you have individuals that get paid this money. And you look at all these activists, oh, we are going to save the women, we're going to save the child, we're going to save the girl child. And, they have these terms that they throw around. So they've set up a good branding system where funds just come in, the organizations are up to on the ground, the money is dispersed. They do a little bit of the work, then most of the money is kept by the executives of these NGOs. And I suspect also, I'm just going to put it out there, a lot of this money goes back to a lot of the executives higher up, say in USAID or this organization. So if they are going to spend $1 million, you'll be at least be sure that half of it is going back to them. So that is the situation. And that comes from me having dealt with at least 2 organizations that did that, where you say this is the amount of money, but the guy at the back, they saying, okay, but here people have to eat. For this to to go on, some people have to get some money, and that's just the basics of this. That is just what's been happening. So that is the situation as it is here, and I believe that's replicated across the world, more so in Africa, because the need is a bit more here. people are a bit more needy, although in my opinion, it's not because of anything other than the way we handle things. We're extremely corrupt. Our political systems are very corrupt. The people that are in power are extremely corrupt. Our society has taken a big hit. We are very corrupt, very difficult to do honest business. So it has laid a very fertile ground for such organizations to come with a PR, we're coming to help people, but they're just behaving the same way. People are just making money, just collecting influence.
Yes, just collecting influence, and seems like that's, I
Making
mean, and yeah, you retweeted this tweet from Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, and I just wanted to read this off. Quote, most governments don't want USAID funds flowing into their countries because they understand where much of that money actually ends up. While marketed as support for development, democracy, and human rights, the majority of these funds are funneled into opposition groups, NGOs with political agendas, and destabilizing movements. At best, maybe 10% of the money reaches real projects that help people in need. There are such cases, but the rest is used to fuel dissent, finance protests, and undermine administrations that refuse to align with the globalist agenda. Cutting this so-called aid isn't just beneficial for the United States, it's also a big win for the rest of the world. Unquote. End of quotation. You retweeted that, so you pretty much agree with what Bukele said. What's the alleged rationalization? I mean, is a lot of this aid coming in as food, or is it coming in other ways?
The aid is money. It just comes in as money.
Yeah.
You see, after a long time, a lot of these organizations and activists, they realize it's the cash you want. If you have the money, you can do anything you want. So it became a big incentive because recently there was someone at the USAID offices, for they were closed down. Somebody was walking. There's a video that I shared of all these 4x4 Land Cruisers. They've been lined up at the same color, the same model, and they are some of the most expensive 4x4s. They go to almost $100,000, those 4x4s. And the guy was walking, there are about 10 of them lined up like this. And if you go to the UN offices here, you'll find a lot of these huge vehicles, these expensive vehicles. It's ridiculous the amount of money they spend on their own comfort. Where they live in the most affluent areas. You find that a lot of this money right now, it's just to sustain that bureaucracy of NGOs. And the bureaucracy is those people, the executives, they've gained so much power politically that every time, say, a government wants to do something, a member of these groups has to be present. My question is, who gave them the permission to do that? Nobody voted for them. They kind of just come in and they just sneak in. They just sneak into the system with the funding and then the political influence. Because now, if USAID or George Soros or Bill Gates says, okay, this is what I would like my guys to do in this slum, what they start with is a member of parliament of that area. He gets his cut, because they don't just fund, by the way, all these dissident groups. Sometimes they fund people right in the government, depending on what they want. Sometimes they give the president money. Like when Jill Biden came here, she came here with, it was money enough to start at least, to put at least 10,000 people to work, build different industries and all. That's the kind of money. You know what that money was for? It was for LGBTQ activism.
So
We
yeah,
have no job.
so they're trying to really create a different kind of country there.
Yes.
They're trying to to reform Kenya in the image that they want to see. I got to ask, what do you think of your current president, William Ruto?
Ruto is easily one of the worst people to have ever been president of this country. For this, because he's been on my conscience for 30 years. I'm 46. I knew of him when I was in my teens. And there's not, it's very rare to have somebody who does like 90% of the things he does are dog shit. Like it's someone who, all the money he has right now, he's stolen all of it. We know where exactly he's gotten this money. from the government tenders, and just our politicians are actually they steal straight from the from the government. They don't even need that much paperwork the way your USAID is doing in America. For us, it's straight up. So for decades, our politicians, they basically take money from our coffers and they do with it what they want. Uh, a few years ago, the last president we had he was very corrupt. Then he thought that coming out and trying to tell us what exactly was the problem, that was going to endear him to us. You're saying that we are losing about $1 billion shillings. That's roughly $10 million per day in corruption. Now, the reason we know all this is because around us, every single person that gets into politics becomes instantaneously rich. They don't even do it the Pelosi way of doing it for 10, 20, 30 years. They're immediately some of the richest people in the country because they're in all these committees. They have the money that goes to their counties from the main government. So all that money is taken. And Ruto has been one of the major recipients. He's had some of the biggest scandals before he was president in this country. He was actually at the ICC. I'm not big on the ICC, but the whole point is that in 2007 we had violence in the post-election, where he was very involved in funding youths, buying weapons, doing things like that. When he went to the ICC, all the most of the the witnesses were killed. So by the time even the case is even starting, there was no witness left. So most were killed and others ran and what. So all these things we know. And we kept on telling people, because what he did this last election, that he actually was targeting the youth, telling them he's a hustler like them, he's going to make jobs for them, blah, blah. So there was this PR move where they were calling each other Hustler Nation. So they were trying to, people my age and older were being vilified that we've destroyed the country. Now our youths don't have anything. Now the president is going to take from us and give the youth, and the youths are all over the place. We'll see. Now we are going to also be rich. So it became this thing. We were trying to tell them, you guys have no idea who this person is. Oh, you have no idea who this person is. It's not because of anything. It's actual factual information. It's not like the way they came after Trump, for example, with fake feeds and whatnot. This is information we have on the ground because we lived it and we saw it. And every single place that the information was collected, we saw who it was. So it's not like these things didn't happen. It's not like they wanted orders to ban kids in a church somewhere in his home area. All these things happened. The ICC and the world knows this. The reason he's here at this particular moment, I believe, is because of organizations like USAID. They whitewashed him. In fact, when the time for counting the votes, there was a lot of irregularities, but the American ambassador came in very strong to defend that. It was so weird for us. Like, why is she at the counting halls throughout all these days? Because she was there constantly. Then now is when we are realizing that a lot of these guys are just protecting the interests here. So it doesn't matter who's at the top, and especially they want someone who can do what they want. And every single time America has done something like this, they always install some lunatic, corrupt idiot who can't do anything for us. It's like almost standard. Look everywhere. If you look at Iraq, you look at Afghanistan, look at Libya here, look at Somalia. Everywhere you touch, you're leaving behind not only destruction, but some of the worst people that can be given any responsibility. They're the ones that are imposed on people. But it's because the game was played with this PR and all these NGOs. And because right now, the same NGOs that were supporting that and actually having the ambassador that do that, they're the same NGOs that are funding our youths to go protest on the streets against him. Like that, all these guys, they've noticed he's abducting a lot of these young men. A lot of them have been killed. The US is totally quiet about it. Every single person that supported him, he came to the US. You've seen that picture of him sitting at the Oval Office with Biden standing right there. Biden made him sit in his chair. Then Biden stood right there looking like the good friends. And that when I saw that picture, I knew we were cooked. The moment I saw that Ruto had aligned with Biden, I knew we were cooked because he came back. They had already been giving him some money. On top of that, they had asked him to basically, because all the inflation going on is coming from how much money you guys spent, because everything is based on the dollar here. So the inflation we had, he was basically given carte blanche to do anything he wants. He can add and drop prices every day, like not the market forces doing it. So long story short, this is easily one of the worst guys we would have had as president right now. And I know I sound like a leftist in the US talking about Trump, but this is not that. This is an actually really incompetent person that was put in. Never earned anything in his life. Everything he has, he has stolen. We actually have the records, but because we don't really follow up with corruption in our country, which I've seen has also happened in your country. You have the Nancy Pelosi's and the Elizabeth Warrens who are stinking rich now on a small salary. So we know they're also on the take. So I believe has become global, and they know each other and they understand who's getting what. This is what I believe. If you're going to corrupt a country and you come because Elizabeth Warren is rich, Pelosi is rich, all these Jack Schumers and McConnell, all these people are stinking rich, but you can see where their money is coming from. And why America stopped questioning. That is the same way here we stopped questioning the corruption in our country, because now that's why I was talking about the society became more corrupt, because now people are angling for the chance to be able to access those funds, other than creating an environment where people can actually hustle it for themselves. So that's where we are. I stopped crying about people voting for Ruto, because democracy is democracy. Even if a total idiot is voted in, you have to deal with it. But we made a big blunder there. That's 100%.
Yeah, you made a big blunder with the election of Ruto.
Yeah, it's one of the worst mistakes we've made this last 20 years. I can tell you for sure.
Yeah. One thing I hear from a lot of people who oppose aid to Africa is that a lot of aid comes in the form of food, and then that food is given away, and it ends up undercutting local farmers because they can't compete with free food. So
Yeah.
some countries in
Now,
Africa have trouble. Some countries in Africa have trouble establishing their own agricultural base because free food keeps coming in. So, what can you tell me about that? I mean, what is the food situation in Kenya? What is it in some other African countries? Kenya is one of the richer countries in Africa.
Yeah, one of the and it's been a struggle. This is the thing. We can feed ourselves just fine. All right. We've been able to do that even when we are at our poorest. There are certain regions which I think, for political reasons, they're always led to get so hungry, and what the northeastern is like a dry place. So for a very long time, the people there have kind of just let the government and NGOs run their business. So of course, that nothing is not really going to be solved there. But we've always been able to feed ourselves. The thing is, though, most of the people that make money from food here and what are also the politicians and their cronies. So what happens most of the time? You'd find the aid will come. This is one scenario. The aid will come, and of course, it's received by the government. So the government would do a PR move of going in trucks, driving to the place, showing them, giving the poor people the food. After that, maybe a day or two to be cancelled. A lot of the rest of if it was grain or what, now gets into the market and starts being sold. And it's actually sold by the politicians and what to these other different distributors. So this is one scenario that everybody knows. The next is the NGOs. They use that as a control mechanism. Are always going to get food from that office there, so they have the food set up and everything. But the people just have to accept whatever they are given. So if there's a vaccine that's to come around that everybody must take, because they've been feeding you, so what happens? So let's take the vaccine. Or if there's this other political move that we need to make and we need your support, we've been feeding you guys, so that happens. So a lot of this is that kind, how do we say? You call it the soft power, where you're not directly saying do this, but you, because of the association you have with these organizations, the people on the ground feel obliged, or sometimes they've trusted them beyond how much they should, because this because the government basically has abandoned them. So what they do, these international organizations are feeding them. So whatever happens, they have to follow what the international organization, at least that's why the activists have become so powerful, because they're seen as the saviors. We have we have a few political ones who are always tweeting about corruption and whatnot. These same people actually, like we have one called Boniface Mwangi, who, for all intended purposes, I think is one of the most corrupt activists that we have around. He's also one of the richest and most powerful. He is the kind of person that would hire police to show that he's being arrested. I saw that being done in Europe also with the Greta Thunberg person. The main thing is that you have to look like you're being oppressed by the police. So you'd pay the police to come and arrest you when you're doing your little protest. So then those pictures and videos will be run on CNN and what, and then the funders will see, you see, he's really doing the job, he's really pushing. And although over time they know what he's doing, but they've allowed it to go on because they're also making money from him and also getting inroads to the people on the ground. So it's become all this huge, I call it, it's a huge mafia cabal. Kind of, if you're selling drugs from Colombia, all those distribution networks you set across the world, it's exactly the same setup, in my opinion. So the food is dealt the same way. So it becomes like this setup where there's a lot of smiles, there's a lot of great engagement, women empowerment, you're trying to feed the children, it's like, you see, most people don't understand the game. So when they look at the media, they trust to the information telling them how these good people are coming to save us. It frustrates me, but I understand the game. They believe, and they allow these people into their homes. Actually, they've started so many programs. Even some, for example, Bill Gates will give out, because if you give like $10 million, like you can. If you have $10 million in this country, you can become a politician anytime and get into parliament if you want. So if you're a private institution that has that money to spend on people, imagine you get the same kind of influence without having to be a politician. Do you understand? Because it's straight up bribery. There are villages across the country where some programs, like they're giving women a stipend. Like you have this concept of universal income. They've tried that here.
Yes.
Where they're giving certain groups of people the money. It's not everyone, of course. It's certain groups of people. They call it a case study that goes on for years and years, non-stop. So they say, when we gave them this money, they did this and they were able to do this. And it's actually not researched well at all. It's actually, they just propagandize people. They just lie. So, we did this thing here, and they got this small sample size. So this is what we are going to use everywhere. But we all know, at least at this particular moment, if you are receiving 1 billion shillings, that's $10 million, just estimating. If you spend $1 million, that's 100 million Kenya shillings. That one you can still do. You can give so many people that money that you would have allegiance on the ground. But what happens is that you've kept $9 million. You've bought a house in where we call Karen, Runda. Those are like the posh places. You have the biggest car. You're traveling all the time. You're in the best, most luxurious places worldwide. You're going. There's another one I saw was in there's this place where there are some tigers and some monks. Where is it? Is it like Malaysia? Where is that? You've seen where the people go and play with the tigers that live with the monks? It's a very expensive trip anyway, but I've seen a number of them do those trips. And they basically live like they are more business moguls, from this money. So they have already laid out that the infrastructure to be able to be like politicians and have the same power. And for them, they have the additional advantage of saying they have a Bill Gates or the US government behind it.
Birth rates in Kenya are still well over three children, right? I mean, you still have pretty big families there, right? Yeah. I
It's
mean,
the thing is, in the urban areas it's less so, but in the rural areas where most people still live, people are still having kids.
yeah. I mean, because that's one of the things that's really becoming a crisis in the more modern world is, uh, I mean, where countries are having a couple, the average woman is having now less than 2 kids, and I don't know how you're going to maintain the population with that, and it seems
But
sometimes I
you are
wonder if
close
it's purposeful
your
attempt to
women have been through
repopulate
this
the
much.
world.
Sorry
Yeah,
about that. Go on.
yeah. Do you sometimes feel like people in countries like Kenya are the subject of experiments that are put on by these big big spenders like Gates and Soros? I mean, like they want to try to experiment on your society and see what works and doesn't work, and you're just the
I believe,
subject.
I believe strongly so, more so because there are less protections here.
Yes.
But I think they got brave and just took it worldwide for a very long time, because right now we're having all this, because it's actually like they're trying to set up a laboratory for this gain of function research and all that locally.
Yeah.
I believe Gates is very much involved in that. So we do have that. The food thing is trying to basically own all the seeds that we plant, and most of those seeds are not replicable. So like you always have to go back to him to buy more seed. So you can't take one plant, then from what you get, plant again. You can't do that. The seeds have been engineered that way. So we've had that in terms of the food. I believe that has been done a bit more extensively with you guys in terms of experimenting with the food. I'm seeing your fake meat industry, seeing all those things. Here, it's still a bit muted, and I think it's primarily because our economy is not strong enough yet. That is the main hindrance. But I think also we can be a base for production, and I think that's what they are looking for. They're looking to have a base where they can produce all these things without so much oversight. Then that food will now go to the US and all the other places. And I actually I've never understood, because I've done the research. Like and I hate it when people tell us, oh, the experts say. No, experts have been lying to me for the last 30, 40 years. And I don't care about the so-called experts. But I'm asking myself some basic questions that, like an expert, instead of answering my questions, is trying to guilt me. That you would ask a simple question. Okay, this this COVID vaccine, does it do the ABCD? What are the side effects? I mean, all vaccines have side effects, but why is this one that has taken the shortest time to make, that has the biggest protections I've ever seen of anything, forget medicine, just anything, period, that they're trying to say that they take 70 years to release the data on side effects? Like, what is going on here? Why can't you? And of course, I have got it already. Why do I need the injection? Because if you get measles, you don't take the injection after. Like, if once you have polio and if it doesn't hurt you, you don't need to take the vaccine. Then, like, this is known. It's been settled science, so to speak, for a very long time, that natural immunity works. And then there's this new, why is this virus different? Where did it come from? Oh, all of a sudden, wet markets. And I'm like, no. Because I remember the bird flu fiasco also, because it's the same thing. By that time, I'd woken up when they had this bird flu business going on. Oh, they want to shut down the world. By that time, it was too fragile for them to try that. But this time, they actually shut down the world. So in my head, I was like, okay, first of all, I don't have answers to all the questions I've asked, but they're just going ahead with decisions. They're just making one decision after another, and then they're destroying everything. Like, why are you destroying our businesses? I lost 70% of my clients during that time. 70%. I've never been able to recover. I recovered maybe 30%.
Yeah.
And it's because I could scale down and I didn't have I had 2 guys who were working for me, and I had to fire them because there was no money coming in. So I picked up all the load. So all these things happened, and then I start to look at all the people involved and what happened to them. They all got stinking rich. They're all defended by the people I trust the least, the media, politicians. They have the Fauci's, like Fauci right now, that little weasel. I hope he dies somewhere a painful death. Like somebody like that, he's standing up there. One day he says, oh, the masks are fine. The next day, they are not. Oh, on this day, say, no, this vaccine will not be able to pass anything. Next day, okay, you might be able. Like he lied throughout. And then you find he owns some of that, what do you call the IP for that, and he's making money off these things. And then you find Bill Gates invested, and now he invested, made $500 million, then left. Like, why are all these people all making money, forcing me to shut down my business? People have been fired. Everything is going to hell. But there's this group, and the information is so bad. Like, I personally have never taken that thing. I've never taken it. I got sick once. I've never been sick again. And I was sick for 2 days. I took ivermectin and I got better after 2 days. And then I got online and I'm being told, oh, ivermectin is horse medicine. Then I go, no, like I've known of ivermectin for 10 years. What are you telling me? Then you say, oh, and then they say it so arrogantly. Like I was watching CNN, somebody just sitting there telling us it's horse medicine. And we were meant to buy that. So I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit angry, but that entire, if there's a red pill moment for anyone, it should have been that pill. It should have been during the COVID. That should have basically told everyone you can't trust anyone who's in power.
Yes, I do want to ask you. We're going a little off topic here, but what did happen? All over Africa when this, saying, "Oh, this big bad virus is going to come and kill people," and it.
This is the thing. I think even our numbers, whatever numbers they put out, I think it's probably 20% of that is the truth. We didn't have that. The fact that because for us there was 2 things. First of all, we couldn't be closed down too long because we don't have the safety nets the way you guys do. Because us, we didn't have money being sent to our accounts, or that you go you can stay for a few months, here is some money. We didn't have that. So they had to open up quickly. But even as they were opening up, they were being extremely punitive with so many things. I'm telling you, when I tell you this, half the businesses closed down and have never opened again. That's the truth. So
yes,
they tried to close down for a while, but the numbers were not making sense. And people are starting to ask, like, what are you talking about? So, like, one case would happen, you'd find it's some overweight man who had diabetes, but they'll blow it up. It's like people are dying all over the country. But it was just this overweight man who had diabetes, who would have died from anything anyway. And then we were looking at, there's no young people dying. There's nothing going on that is really allowing these people to lock us in the houses and make us wear masks, which we knew beforehand. Not only don't they help, they actually can exacerbate the situation because they get dirty very quickly. There was just so much horrible information going on. And at that particular time, most of us just said, fuck it, government. If the police are going to come for me, let them come for me. That's where we got to. So the government was actually playing games. Now they were closing government offices, restricting services. And then if you open your business in town, you will see the cops walking around, trying to harass people. After a while, people just tell them, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Just do what you want because we are poor. That's the truth. We are poor. You can't keep a man out of his office for a month and you think he'll survive. Like there are so very few people in our population that could take going for a month or 2 without pay and survive. It's like the majority said the hell with it. Now in the rural areas, people just stopped following the rule. Just said, we're not. Then they told those MPs try and stop us. Right there they have a lot more power. That's why they concentrate more of the warfare in the mental and the propaganda. Because on the ground here, people will beat you up. People will chase you from your home and tell you not to come back here again. Especially if you're trying to stop people from eating. You're trying to stop people from going to get food. Like, what is wrong with you? It was so horrible. Actually, I can tell you for free that I got so red pilled by that period that if the reason why I hope Soros, Bill Gates, all these people die horrible deaths is because of that. These people profited off our suffering, and they're still in the media talking like they're the ones who know shit. That is frustrating me beyond belief, and I'm happy Trump won because he's their enemy. If for anything else, he's their enemy. They hate him, he hates them. So when we have our guy there, because now we consider Trump our guy, Trump is already come, and everything he's doing, you're like, oh, common sense, common sense, common sense. Like, oh, he's saying, no, these shithole countries, people are just taking money and they're doing nothing. That's true. Like the time, you remember when he said he called a number of our countries shithole countries, the media was very mad. But Africans, you could remember, we were just like, yeah, he's right. no, no, we know ourselves. And you see, we are sick and tired of pretending we are more than we are. We are sick and tired of saying, oh, we are doing best, or we're doing well, they're complaining, oh, the colonialists, so and so, but locally, all the money we have is going to these people to live lavishly, like, and they don't seem to have enough. Like every time you say, we'll vote for this rich guy now, who we forget the rich guy is the former president's son. All the money he has is stolen from us. All the property therefore stolen from us. We have a very messed up political setup, by the way. Just in case you didn't know. It's really messed up. And the people in the West don't really appreciate how bad it is, because, some of you would complain, oh, our social security, this is too expensive, or this, that. As social security, where? If right now, any of us loses our job, you have some employment security thing. If you lose your job, you have all those. Right here, if you lose your job, it's either your family or your friends. Otherwise, you're messed. So, like, we have a very, as it is right now, personally, let me just go back a bit to the USAID thing. The reason why we are like this, in my opinion, is because we refuse to take responsibility of solving our own problems. So we were vulnerable to USAID and all these people coming in, corrupting the population, at least a sizable number of population, our institutions and media and whatnot, and continue just do it because really most people are needy. Even if they can have regular food, they really have nothing else. And the food is not really high quality, because now also the processed foods are here now everywhere. If you go to our supermarket, it's horrible. So everything is being kind of twisted, because that's why I believe that the globalist agenda is to try and hold that position, to be able to sell whatever they are making to everyone, no alternatives, to be able to have the political will they want, no opposition. That's what I believe is being pushed. I ramble a lot, so you might need to stop me.
Yeah, I understand, but I don't want to interrupt. This is all good stuff. You mentioned COVID. Where do you think Kenya is going to go in the future? What do you think things are going to get better? I mean,
I think inevitably it will get better, and I don't think this is a particularly Kenyan phenomenon. I think worldwide, because of the proliferation of information, there's so much, you can get information so quick, and you've noticed because of that there's a lot of quick cultural changes. I'm gonna reference how the liberals have done it. Like right now, to be able to say, okay, George Floyd was killed, and is this great hero who's been they did that in literally days. All over the world, we have kids with George Floyd tattoos. We have murals of George Floyd here in our ghettos. What they did is that they placed a career criminal in front of us and told us, this is now our hero. This is our hero. And in days, the entire Black population of this earth was saying, George Floyd, George Floyd. I was almost bursting. I was so angry. So angry. I was like, what are you guys doing? Why are you following a criminal? Why are you, like, have you even looked into what this guy has been arrested more times than you would bother to remember. Like, you actually have to work hard to be arrested the number of times George Floyd was arrested. This was a scumbag. But the black community in this world has to now follow a scumbag. And they continued, and now they're using this battering ram, the Black American community, because they know we like their music and they've culturally influenced us. That now we have to follow this. And everybody's trying to act like a freedom fighter. Oh, it was so frustrating. I hated it. So the moment I remember Candice Owens released the video, I said, no, this is rubbish. I shared that video immediately and I made enemies. I was making enemies because of George Floyd, my friend. And in my head, I was like, this guy is a scumbag, man. Like, I asked another friend of mine who was trying to get a bit emotional. I said, would your father ever allow you to be George Floyd's friend? If you are growing up in George Floyd's neighborhood, would your father allow you to be his friend? No, I said, the guy has he's been in jail over 10 times. Like, who are you to tell me that I have to follow this guy? And sometimes they're saying, people have these disclaimers, I don't want anybody to die. No, if you're going to commit over 10 crimes, you are looking to be killed, my friend. Who is this you think you're going to victimize forever and you think nothing is going to happen? Because that's what has happened now, that worldwide, our criminal elements are being placed in front like our heroes. The people who actually do proper stuff that we need to look up to have been sidelined and been called all kinds of names. So as Kenyans, our bullshit artists are the ones who are being given the most the most shine. Our activists, who are basically all of them corrupt. I know like 2 are not, because they've done the legitimate thing from the word go and have actually followed through. But most of them are corrupt. Those are the people who are placed on a pedestal for us to follow. Some of the most corrupt people, because the PR is that they are victims of some sort. The thing is with Kenya, it's going to be inevitable that it's going to be very fast change. And I can let me just say it's a gut feeling, because I've seen in the last 10 years changes that have been so dramatic that it's shocked politicians to take a step back and re-strategize. Because sometimes people just say, no, and that's it. It doesn't matter whether you corrupt the system or what, the people just don't want you. And they would go an extra mile to make sure that you are out. The thing is, unfortunately, more often than not, we've chosen the wrong people, the same way we chose George Floyd to be our saint, our holy saint, George Floyd. And you see, the thing is, because they put the shame around talking nonsense about George Floyd, a lot of people kept quiet. The few that didn't keep quiet about this nonsense, I believe we made a step forward, and we have more influence than the people that played the game. Because right now, I do a YouTube channel, I do several things, I do films or whatever, and I started pushing them by myself with my bros, my business partner, and we started getting our audience very slowly, very organically. We're not paying for anything, and people started responding. Because after a while, people asking, okay, why is this guy always saying this thing? And it seems the people that I don't trust the most are against him. So after a while, we are gaining slowly, and I think it's going to change, because that's why you're seeing my push here to chase all these NGOs. I want all these NGOs gone. I want them all gone, because we have the resources and we have the manpower and education to be able to sort these simple things they keep making big. It's because they're making them big because they want to continue earning USAID money. And it's very basic. Everybody can see it. But we want to listen to media telling you, how many kids are going to go hungry? Oh, the cancer kids. Oh, the this. Like, shut the hell up. Like, we have government budget that is actually inflated for this particular thing. How much is that? There's this many $1 billion going to this thing from the government taxes. Why do we have this supplementary budget from USAID? Why do we need for the Open Society? Why do we need Gates Foundation here? Why? It's because you guys are making money and you're destroying our society, our food base, our politics, everything. using it. And you want us to just, and then you steal all the taxes. Now you say, oh, now we're having governors who have big budgets saying, now, USAID has left, so 200 people will be out of work. Why are they out of work? Why are your medical students out of work? Your nurses, why are they out of work and they're needed? And the money is there in the budget. It's there. We know. Why are you stealing all the money? Then you expect USAID to supplement your budget. As far as I'm concerned, all these NGOs need to be shut down. If a mistake is made and I'm made president of this country, that will be the first thing I do. I'll shut all of them down. Civil society, everyone.
Yeah.
Because what we have now is we have CIA and whatnot people here pretending to be activists. They're going to the ground fomenting dissent. I don't like Ruto, but the right way to go about this is to vote him out the way you voted for him in. Because the alternative, going to the street and trying to ban things in our little economy that can't afford these blackouts. We have days or a week where, they've funded the youths are running everywhere, so business can't run. We actually decided no. And every time these youths come out, then shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. In fact, if you go to town and try to, because what they're using also, they know, like the BLM, you send those youths to the streets, they'll destroy everything. They know that. They know. So we told them, you try and that. We said, GSU, police, do your work. I am not going to have youths running around destroying my property because an NGO is trying to fund a protest. That is not going to work here anymore. And that's basically where our position right now, because the fear that they lay down that, you will not get any jobs, that has been levied against me. I can't get contracts because I'm not woke, not pushing activism and feminism and all this gay shit and whatnot. Now, I'm not kissing Bill Gates' ass, so I won't get any money from Gates Foundation. I don't want that money from Gates Foundation. Fuck your money. That is where I stand right now. I am willing to suffer for slightly longer because I am competent. I have good products. I'll get a market. That is basic. I can do that. I'm able to sleep at 2 a.m. every day to make sure this thing works. Are you willing to do that? If this NGO money goes away, are you willing to do that to compete with me? That's where I stand. Right now, we don't want this shit. I'm sorry, it is not going to work as people expect any longer because a lot of people have become extremely dissatisfied because there's no way we keep working this hard. I'm telling you, and I know like the same happens in America because I have relatives and friends in America. And you can see how much they put in, like you forget all these noisemakers. There's the people actually, I believe, who keep America going despite all the theft and mismanagement and inefficiency and what. There's this line of people, you have about 100 million people who work nonstop, who are building stuff. Those are the people who are keeping the economy going. The same to here. Ours is not as powerful or as many, but we have this group of people that wake up every day and do good, honest work. They are the majority. They have the most power. Now, the problem we're having is trying to change the mindset to be able to see you have the power. This politician, this activist knows nothing. He's manipulating you and using your suffering to try and make himself better. And that information is going down to the ground fast. We are making noise. And personally, I have like 5 videos about USAID out right now. I did a live stream on Friday about it, listening to Mike Benz. You know Mike Benz, right?
Yeah, I know who Mike Benz is. Yeah. This is certainly all really good stuff. I did want to ask, where else have you been in Africa besides you've been in Kenya? Where else have you been in Africa?
I've been Malawi, Uganda, Tanzania. Those are just our neighbors here.
Yeah. So just the neighbors. Yeah. And I don't think there's that much more to say about USAID, but I don't ask also if I wanted to come to Africa, where should I go? How easy or hard would it be? Can I make it around there pretty easy on English, or would I need to learn Swahili?
Where do you English, you should be fine in most countries.
Okay. Well,
But
some African countries were former French colonies, and there's a lot of French there too, though. But yes.
Yeah, but if you go, they're still English. They're francophone, yes, but you'll still be able to get along with English quite fine.
Yeah,
Do you
certainly.
want to visit? Do you want to visit? Because I have to be honest with you. When you're coming to visit Africa, it's because Africa is cheap. It's much cheaper than Europe.
Yeah, 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 your money goes a long way,
So
although it's quite expensive to
yeah,
get there,
so
I
if,
guess.
if you're coming for holiday, there's good packages. This just want to come have fun, chill out, just have the sun, cook your back. You can have that. There's good places. Just understand it's still Africa. There's places because you're also white, so you'll have this issue. You have this. I'm just going to be honest with you. People would want to take advantage of you because they think you have money. You probably would have some money, but people would want to take advantage of you. I don't think it's a particularly African thing, but everywhere you go where people are a bit poorer, you'd always find that kind of sentiment. But generally speaking, unless you're not a naive person, you should be fine.
Well, certainly, yeah, I certainly enjoyed, our discussion this evening. I think we learned a lot here. I maybe I'll make it over there sometime in the future. It's
If it,
Kenya and
if
Tanzania are certainly high on my list. Also, Botswana, they seem like they're good places to go.
No, yeah, that's in terms of like if you're just going to have, I think Botswana is really good. In Tanzania, Tanzanians are better people than us. I have to be honest
Oh,
with you. It is our neighbors. They are much. I think the culture has been sustained a bit longer. They, they had this, it's kind of like a communist setup. It wasn't really it was like socialist earlier on, like in the 80s, 70s. And it kind of, for a long time, the way they did it, it kept a lot of their culture alive. But as they're taking up capitalism and they've really taken it up altogether, there's a lot of that togetherness. There's a lot of, they're very polite people. They would not, you'd feel very welcome in Tanzania. That one I can tell. It's
yeah,
in Kenya. In Kenya, in the coast areas, you'll find that also people are really very courteous. Uh, there's places like Nairobi is more gangster New York style, so you have to be a bit more careful, things like
yeah.
that.
Well, Nairobi's a big city, yeah, but I'd certainly have to come there, fly in on the air, fly there, and it certainly would sounds like it's going to be very exciting.
If you want to
Sometimes.
come, please let me know. I will make sure you have the time of your life here. Just just if you come, whatever I know the rest. So you'll be able to go to the best places. If you want to meet the best people, that one I can assure you. With me, you can. So make sure if you're coming, you holler at me. I'm sure we've made up. I would send you my contacts in case that happens in the future.
Certainly, yes. So, well, it's been great having you on here. Where can we find your work?
Oh wow! Now
The
my
web.
my channel. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on X. I'm I am everywhere. Albo was cinema. Albert Nyakundi is my real name, but Albo was cinema. So it's this. It's a Albo was cinema means Albert who does cinema. That is basically what it translates to. But Albo was cinema with an S on all platforms.
Well, we certainly hope you get some good film movies out there. It sounds like maybe there's some good
Actually,
opportunities in Kenya, but yes,
Actually, at this particular moment, we are working on one that we'll be bringing to the US later in the year. So that's in the plans. This is the
okay. Well,
relationship I want in the US is that I want to make a product and try and sell in the US. I'm not trying to get any USAID money. If I come a few theaters, we don't use millions of dollars, so we will get less. Our costs are lower, so we'll be able to do good business in. So I'll be coming with a movie later in the year. So which state are you?
I'm in Texas.
Oh, there's a gentleman I'm talking to called Jesse. He's also from I think Austin. Is it Jesse? He's called Jesse. He's also quite he's on X quite a bit. So I'm also talking to him. I hope that we can do some business with him. So that's the
Yes.
relationships I'm trying to create.
Well, we've also got some filmmakers here. There's a somewhat of an independent film scene. I mean, I'm 1 hour behind New York, so that's why I always, so that's why I always schedule up the interview because It just got past midnight here, but I know it's Tuesday morning there. So, yeah, well, it's been
It's
great
9.
having you. Please like
Yeah,
this video.
So,
I was
sorry.
gonna-
Go on.
Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. People are giving money on Buy Me a Coffee to support my show, and go buy my novel Escape from the Village. Check out my Substack. Thank you, Albert Nyakundi. I'm Chris Baker. We're out. Buy my novel Escape from the Village from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to the Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Support the forum. Go to buymeacoffee.com/fountainheadforum. Thank you.